So a very warm welcome to you all to the third of our online courses for this year. Very delighted that you can join us. A few rules for the course. I ask that you all put your microphones on mute so that we don't disturb each other. I also recommend you switch off your video because this eats up a lot of bandwidth and will cause interference and poor signal. And as we get going, I recommend that you post your questions on the chat group, and we will make time available at the end of the session to address all your questions. So as I said, this is our third course for the year. In July, we talked about interpreting EBVs and use of sale catalogs. August, we talked about days to calving, our most important fertility measure. What is it and how do we record it? Today, we've swapped around because of logistics. We will be talking about interpreting completeness of performance reports and how to improve star ratings. October, I think it's actually 1st of November, we'll talk about carcass traits and the value of real-time ultrasound scanning for cattle breeders. In November, I think I saw a date of the 14th of November. I have pressured Professor Costa to give us this talk, the impact and management of inbreeding and genetic conditions in beef cattle, something that I think is very, very important, and important we understand the level of genetic conditions in our breeds. And December, we'll finish off the year with genomics, why all the fuss, and I think this is also a very, very important and poorly understood subject. Very briefly, LRF is a member association. We have 8 South African breeds as part of the LRF, your SA Bradford, Brahman, Brangus, Wagyu, Limousin, Simbra, and Simmentaler, as well as SA Holstein. And then we've got about 80% of the Namibian stud industry under the Namibian Stud Breeders Association, and we have all the breeds in Zimbabwe under the Zimbabwe Herd Book. And basically, the LRF's primary function is to assist its members to implement the world's leading genetic evaluation software to best advantage. And our service provider is Australia's Agricultural Business Research Institute. And the key piece of software that we will be discussing and basing our discussions tonight on is BreedPlan, the International Beef Recording Scheme, and as I say, the leading software genetic evaluation tool in the world. But before we get stuck into the session, I want to highlight our main theme of the year, our main event of the year is the LRF Stockman School. This year we'll be hosting the 15th LRF Stockman School. It will be between the 11th to the 13th of October at Oldham Resort. And the theme this year is Profit Drivers in Bull Selection. This is a 3-day event, a wide range of local, regional, and international presenters. We will touch on the latest technologies and experiences in animal production and really trying to equip the farmer with all the tools he needs, he or she needs to make improve livestock production. I urge you, please, to really consider this and register at www.stockmanschool.co.za. Tonight's session is interpreting completeness of performance reports and how to improve star ratings. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Izan, the technical officer of the LRF, to take over and give you a presentation on completeness of performance reports. Stop sharing. Over to you, Izan.
Thank you, Mario. Good evening, all. So as Mario mentioned, I'm going to talk about the interpretation of the completeness of performance reports and how a herd can improve their star rating. So first off, we're quickly going to look at performance recording and why it's important. So performance recording is the cornerstone of a genetic evaluation. So we can't have EBVs if we do not have supporting performance data. The reliability of EBVs is directly linked to the quality of the performance information that we as breeders submit to the society. And the concept of garbage in, garbage out apply here as well. So we need to make sure the performance data that we submit to the society is of good quality so that it can be used in the evaluation and that the EBVs that's calculated is as accurately as possible. The more information we supply to breed plan, the higher the EBV accuracy will be. So this is just a table showing the different traits that breed plan currently calculate EBVs for. For some breeds, they do calculate other EBVs as well. And they can calculate the EBV for any trait, given that there is enough performance information available and that the trait is heritable. And if that's the case, they can calculate EBVs for us. So let's start and look into the completeness of performance report and see how we should look at it and what information it gives to us and how we can improve our star ratings. So the completeness of performance report gives us an idea of the quantity of pedigree and performance information submitted to the society by an individual herd. It's a breed plan tool that can be used for basically two purposes. My apologies, my screen froze here. Going to share again. So first off, it gives other stud and commercial producers an assessment of how much performance information has been submitted to breed plan by a specific herd. So they know the amount of information that is behind your animal's EBV, other than the EBV accuracies for each and every EBV. The second thing that completeness of performance report is used for is it can be used by a specific herd to determine where their performance recording is lacking. So if you're a stud breeder, you can use your report to see where you can improve your performance recording. It's very important to remember that only animals born in your herd are included in the herd's completeness of performance report. So it means that if you buy in animals from other breeders and you record their performance, that information is not included in your herd's completeness of performance report. So only calves born in your herd, registered under your membership, is included in your completeness of performance report. So if we look at the completeness of performance star ratings, the star ratings for a herd is calculated based on the proportion of calves within the herd born in a fixed 5-year period that have performance information included for each of the traits. different criteria are used within each individual breed, depending on the traits for which this breed has EBV, and which they included in the report. So the criteria differs between the different breeds, and you need to make sure what traits are included in your completeness of performance report. So each herd receives a star rating of between 0 to 5, including half stars, that summarizes the relative completeness of their performance information. And we'll look into how these ratings are calculated a bit later on. So just quickly, how do you access your completeness of performance report? And first off, every month in which you submitted new post-birth performance data, breed plan will calculate or generate a new report for you after the breed plan run. So they do not automatically send you a new report after each run. You need to submit performance data in that month. So you can download it via Internet Solutions, the download file section. You can log in there with your membership details and your password, and then you can download your report. The other option for the guys using RLR Online, there's a report section, and the completeness of performance report will be under Internet Solutions or other external reports. It will be there as the performance completeness report. So this is the two ways that you can access your report. I know some breeds do send, from time to time, they do send these reports out to their members. So in these reports, they look at the information in different categories. So we have animal details, weight traits, carcass traits, birth traits, fertility traits, and some other traits. And we'll look into these further down in the presentation. So we're going to look at an example of a completeness of performance report. So you will have your herd information over here, and here they give the date on which this report was pulled, and they give you your society details as well. So the first few pages is an explanation of the different sections of the report. So basically what I'm going to explain tonight, I'm not going to go through that. And then the first page that gives you information on your specific herd is this one. So it is a big table that show you the scores for your different calf drops. So the calving year refers to calves born in a specific year. Example 2017 is animals born in the year 2017 and how complete their data recording is for the different sections of information. And then they add this all up to a total out of 200. And according to that, they assign a star rating. We'll look into that in a bit more detail later on. So as was mentioned, the overall score or rating that your herd receives is an average over 5 years. So it's the latest 5 years, excluding the last 2 years. They exclude the last 2 years as these animals are still too young to have been measured for all the different traits. So they exclude those 2 years. And each year in July, with the July replan run, they change these years to the next year. So in this year, July, we changed to 2021. Next year, July, we will change to 2022. So we will be from, they will use data from 2018 up until 2022. And then you get your overall star rating. So this is a graph that shows you for what traits this herd has recorded information. So immediately you will see, for example, this herd has never recorded days to calving, docility, any structure. Structure is normal sheaf and navel scores. So it's more for the Brahman type animals. Never recorded any NFI data, etc. And then they break it down into females and males and show you the percentage overall of animals in this herd with the different traits recorded. So for example, you can see for the females, 60% of the females has a 600-day weight. And so forth. If we go to the next slide, this is a table with animal detail information. So you will see the different pieces of information they include under animal details is the sex of the animals and the sex ratio. So they look at the sex ratio because they encourage breeders to record all their male and female calves. So for example, you can see in 2017, this herd recorded 96 bull calves and 170 female calves. So immediately you can see that the sex ratio is off, so they probably did not record all the bull calves. Then we have the date of birth. Most of the time, 100% of the date of births are recorded, but you could see initially many of the date of births were lacking at registration of those animals. Then we have the sire details. So if you register a calf with a unique sire ID, it will be placed in this column. If you make use of multi-sires, they put it in this column. And the percentage for sire details is calculated based on the number of unique sires reported at registration. Then we have the animal details. Same thing, it is based on unique dam details, and the percentage is calculated accordingly. Then we have the mating type. If you make use of natural matings, AI, embryo transfer, and if you make use of embryo transfers, they also look at how complete your recipient dam information is. So for example, if there is a score allocated to embryo transfers or AI dates, and you do not make use of any of those, you will receive the full score. So you will not be penalized if you do not make use of your AI, if there's actually a score allocated to those traits. or pieces of information. So for each of the sets of data, they give it in the table, and then they also display it graphically. So this is the graphs for the animal details. So you can quickly see where the information is lacking. So for example, you can see for the 2017 born animals, only 80% of them has unique dam details on file for the specific herd. Date of birth, the last few years, it's basically 100%, but for the 2012 born calves, only 38% of them have a date of birth. Then we have the mating types. So the white part is for natural mating. Then we have ET and AI. Then we move over to the weight traits. So here you will see there's a 1 and a 2. So that's for the first weaning weight submitted and the second weaning weight submitted. Same for 400, 600 day, etc. The percentages are calculated from the first weight reported. What's also important to realize here is that the mature cow weight, the percentage calculated there is the number of mature cow weights submitted in the specific year. So mature cow weight with the recording date in 2020 and not the number of 2020 born animals with a mature cow weight. So there's two traits that are calculated differently. So it's the one is mature cow weight and the other one is days to calving. The rest of them refers to the number of animals or the proportion of animals born in a specific year with performance information. So if we look at the graphs, we will immediately see that a high percentage of calves have a 200-day weight, and it decreases for 400 and 600-day weight. And that's normally just due to the fact that animals are culled along the line and not measured for all of these traits, or they die, or whatever the case might be. So it's very important to realize that breed plan does not subtract those animals that are culled from the herd from the calculation. So if we go back to this one, so for example, in 2021, there was 131 females or heifers registered, and they culled 30 of them along the line and only weighed 96 of them, because there were only 96 left in their herd. They do not adjust the total number for the percentage calculation. They keep the 131. And you might say it's not a fair process, but when we look at how they scores, you will see that there's some buffer that they give for you to make sure that you are able to get to a 5 or a 4-star rating, even though you do not keep all your animals up until final weight. we'll look into how we can improve our star ratings. But for example, if you look at your report and you know you have recorded more 2018 400-day weights, you can check which ones you missed and submit that to the society. So if we, for example, look at the mature cow weight for this specific herd, you can see that the data recording there is lacking. In 2021, they did submit almost 80% of their mature cow weight, but it dropped drastically in 2022 to just over 20%. So that's something that this specific herd can look at. Just as a side note, mature cow weight is the weight that you take when your calves is weighed for 200-day weight or weaning weight. So the figures should be fairly the same as your 200-day weights, because if you weigh your calves for 200-day weight, you normally also weigh your cows. So you just need to submit that information to the society. So if we move over to the carcass information, so recently you would have seen that there were traits added to this section. So initially we only had the scanned information, so eye muscle area, rib fat, rump fat, IMF, but they also now included physical carcass information. So the carcass weight, marbling score, eye muscle area, rib fat, rump fat. So most of the societies do not have a score allocated to the physical carcass measurements, but societies like the Wagyus have implemented it, and they did assign a score to the physical carcass traits. Again, they displayed in a table as well. So you will see in most of the years, or for most of the calf drops, they scanned around about 10% of their animals. They have not submitted any physical carcass measurements. Then we move over to the birth and fertility information. So here we have calving ease, birth weight, AI date, scrotal size, and days to calving. So again, they look at the proportion of animals born in that specific year with a birth weight recorded. And for AI date, they only look at the AI dates if you have registered calves and you have indicated that they were AI calves, and then they calculate the percentage of calves for which you also submitted an AI date. So immediately you can see for some of the animals, this herd has not submitted AI dates. Then we have scrotal sizes. They calculate the percentage as the number of animals with scrotal sizes compared to the total number of male calves registered. So here again, it's very important that, for example, before you castrate animals, or actually, before you sell off some of the male animals and they are older than 300 days of age, make sure that you take those scrotal circumferences. There's always a range for all of these traits to be measured. So for example, for scrotal size, you can do it from 300 days of age up until 700 days of age. Normally it's taken with the 400-day weight or the 600-day weight. But if you do sell off these males before 400 days of age, make sure that you weigh them and take their scrotal sizes as well. Then we get to days to calving. As you can see, the herd has not recorded any days to calving information. And this is the mating list that was discussed in one of the previous talks. Again, the percentages are calculated differently. So here they look at, for example, in 2019, how many days to calving records did you submit in 2019 as a proportion to the number of calves born or registered. Here, the information is displayed in graphs. And again, you can immediately see where there is data lacking. So for example, if they recorded more 2021 scrotal circumferences, they can make sure to submit all of the information to the society. Or for example, if they did submit days to calving records and nothing showing here, they can contact their society and see what's going on or resubmit the information. Then we get to other traits, and this might differ for the different societies, but there's a docility score, a flight time score, structure, as was mentioned. This is normally sheath and navel scores. Then there's DNA. So this specifically refers to animals with SNP profiles. So they look at the number of animals born within a specific year with SNP profiles at the society. And then there's net feed intake and the percentage of animals with those records. As you can see, this herd did not record any of the other traits except for some docility scores in 2015. So on the last page of your report, you will get to this big table. So this is the backbone of the calculations of those different scores. So this is the criteria. So it's a maximum score that they allocate. They, meaning the society, allocate to the specific traits out of 200. And the system then checks how many animals has, for example, a date of birth. So if you submitted more than 95% of your animals' date of births, you will get a score of 10 multiplied by the multiplier in the right-hand side here to get to the maximum score out of 200. You will see this, if you sum these amounts, you will get to the maximum score there for animal details. That's the weight traits. So again, if you submitted 80% of your calves 200-day weights, you will receive a score of 9 multiplied by 1.5 to get to the score out of 15. And that they do for each of the calving years. So for 2016, they look at the proportion of animals for each of these traits, get to the score, multiply by the multiplier to get to the score out of the maximum score, and they sum that to get to your score out of 50 for animal details. And as you can see, they do that for all the different sections and sum it to a total of, or out of 200. And then they look at your score out of 200 to see what's your rating for that specific year. So this table gives those ranges. So for example, this slide for 2018, they have a maximum score or a total score of 107. If we look at that table, 107 is a 3-star, and they assign that to that specific year. In 2022, it's 97. So 97 falls in the category of 2.5, and that's why they have a score of a rating of 2.5 for 2022. As was mentioned, for the overall completeness of performance star rating, they look at the average between or from 2017 to 2021, and that's an average of 114 out of 200. And if we look at the table again, 114 is a 3-star. So this is where the 3-star for this specific herd comes from. So now we're going to look at how can I improve my completeness of performance star rating. So currently, for example, this herd is on a 3-star rating, but how can they improve their rating to a 4 and later to a 5-star? So the first step that you can take is to check that all the performance data that you have on farm has been submitted to the society. So for example, if you know you record all your animals' dam details, but it's showing here that some of the dam information is missing, you can contact the society and make sure all the dam information is up to date. Or if you look at the weights and you know you recorded more of 2018 and 2019 born animals 400-day weights, you can contact the society and resubmit those weights to be uploaded onto the society database. So it's very important to realize that the performance data can be submitted retrospectively. So if you now you have information on farm that's not at the society, you can submit the information. To know exactly what animals have weights at the society, there's a completeness of performance diagnostic report that you can ask the society to pull for you. So it will give you exactly a list of animals with the weights submitted, and you will immediately see for which animals the 400-day weights are missing. So the second step that you can take is you can evaluate the categories of information that can be approved. So you look at this summary table of yours and see for which sections you can actually improve your data recording. So this specific herd can improve their animal details as they have a 44 out of 50 score for animal details. The weight rate is 35 out of 60, so they can improve that. The scan traits is a 6 out of 32, so they can improve that as well. You can see The carcass traits do not have a score allocation, so they do not need to submit any carcass traits. Birth traits is 24 out of 25, so they will probably not be able to improve there. Fertility is 5 out of 32, so they can most certainly improve their fertility traits. So then you can go to each of those sections and see for which traits you can improve your recording going forward. So for example, we mentioned that they can improve on the animal details. So going forward, they need to make sure that they submit all the animal sire details and dam details, and also make sure they submit all the dates of birth. Then for the weight traits, 200-day weight is fairly complete, around about 80 to 90%, so they will probably not be able to improve there. But for the 400-day weight, they can probably improve. For example, only 60% of the animals have 400-day weights. If they do keep more of their animals to 400-day weight, they need to make sure that they do submit those weights. Again, you need to realize that all of these traits can be measured in a specific age range. So if they do keep their animal for older than 300 days of age before selling them off, they can take a 400-day weight. Same with 600-day weight. If they do keep them, they need to make sure that they send those weights in. Another thing that they can probably look at is the mature cow weights. As you can see, it's only a few years that they have recorded the trait and only a section of the cows. So it's very important that every time they weigh their calves for weaning, they also weigh their cows and submit those weights. Then they do get a scanner in to scan their animals, but currently they only scan 10% of their animals, so they can see if they can increase the number of animals scanned. So again, it's very important to remember that you can scan both your bulls and your heifers. So make sure that you scan as many of the animals as possible within their contemporary groups. Then the other section that they can improve on is the birth and fertility traits. So immediately you can see the ones lacking is their scrotal circumference and their days to calving. So that's the easy thing that they can improve on. They can see if they can do more of their bull's scrotal circumferences. In 2021, or for their 2021 born calves, only 13% or so of their bulls were measured, and days to calving, none of the cows have days to calving or mating list information recorded. So that's an easy thing that they can improve on. Again, here, AI dates. It's very important if you register an animal as an AI calf, you need to give the AI date. If you did not do any AIs, it's not going to count against you. So improve scrotal size measurements and improve days to calving measurements. So in conclusion, performance records are the cornerstone of any genetic evaluation. So even when we move over to single-step EBVs where genomic information are included, performance records will be important. If we want to select for a specific trait, we need to make sure we are recording it. And it's also important to record the traits of importance to your buyers or clients. So if the clients that buys your bulls and your heifers, etc., wants to select on net feed intake, for example, it's important for you to test your animals for net feed intake, as an example. So the completeness of performance star rating and report is a breed brand tool, first off for you to see where your data recording is lacking. And secondly, it's a tool for your buyers to see what amount of performance information is available on your animals that supports the EBVs. And again, this is in addition to the EBV accuracies that they can see on your animals. So again, remember that if you see that there is some data missing from the society database, you can send that to the society, and if you want to improve your star rating going forward, make sure you record the traits that is accounted for in the completeness of performance report. And it might take some time for you to improve your star rating, as the overall rating is calculated as an average of 5 years. So it might take up to 5 years from today to improve your star rating. But it's a handy tool for you to make sure that all the information required is submitted to the society. So thank you very much for attending this course tonight, and we can now move over to questions.
Thank you very much, Izan. I think it's a very good presentation. And I think the key to unlocking genetic potential is the ability to accurately select individuals to be parents of the next generation. And that all of that comes from the data that has been collected to enable us to accurately estimate the animal's net genetic merit. And that all comes from collecting data and analyzing it, which is summarized by completeness of performance in breed plan. Open to questions. I see there's nothing on the chat group. You feel free to raise your hand. Any questions, any comments? We'll be very happy to entertain you. No questions, no comments?
Sorry, can I ask a question? I do not see where I can raise my hand. It's Corella Beskagni speaking.
Please,
can
please
I ask
go ahead.
a question, please?
Please go ahead.
With regard to documenting, we say that when we AI, we can document the date, because I mean it's most now obvious, you know exactly which day that you do put the semen into the cow. What about natural service? If you know, because we, for instance, in our do hand servicing. So we put the bull with the cow. It's not, we don't, it's not naturally running into the field. So we know also exactly when a natural service takes place. Will that date also count like in an AI date?
Thank you for the question, Corey. So no. So the AI dates is only for calves registered as AI serviced calves. The hand mating information you will record on your mating lists that will go into the days to calving calculations. So that you will record on your mating list.
Okay, thank you.
But Izan, confirm you can still capture that information, and if I'm not mistaken, Breed Plan is looking at a way of incorporating that information going forward.
That's correct. Yeah. So as was mentioned, that information can be captured in the mating list spreadsheets.
So Izan, I think you can also address this question. What is the background of recording two weights on 200 and 400 days? And what is the time frame required for these weighings?
Thank you for the question. So for all the weight plates, there's an age range. So for example, for 200-day weight, you can record weights from 80 days of age up until 300 days of age. 400 is 301 days of age up until 500 days of age. And final weights or 600-day weights is from 501 up until, now I need to remember, is it 700 days of age? So within these age ranges, you can take more than one weight. So for example, for weaning weight, you can take a pre-weaning weight at around about 150 days of age, submit that to the society, and then at around about 220 days of age, you can take another weaning weight. So both of these weights will count towards your weaning weight EBV estimation. And as was mentioned in previous talks, the more information available, the higher the accuracies of your EBVs. So if you do submit more than one weight for the different traits, your EBV accuracies will increase slightly. What is, however, important to keep in mind is that it's best to have at least around about 30 days or a month between the two different weights. So it doesn't make sense to, if you weigh your animals weekly, submit all those weights. And also, Breed Plan will analyze the first two submitted to the database. So they won't select the different weights. They will look at the first two dates that you submitted in that age range. So if you do weigh your animals weekly, monthly, make sure you only submit the ones that you want to include. And just a correction, I said 30 days. They actually prefer 3 months between the two weights, not 30 days. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Izan. We have a few minutes left. We're very happy to entertain any more questions or comments.
I see there's another one from Delia. If mature cow weight is captured, may she be carrying again? at weaning, the cow's already pregnant again. Yes. I'm just trying to remember now if there is anything. There's for final weights. There is some indication if the heifers are pregnant for more than or for longer than 4 months. You need to keep that in mind. But I think for mature cow weight, it's fine. They can be pregnant when you weigh them.
Absolutely. We're nearly up. We've got a few minutes left. If there's no further questions, it remains for me firstly to thank you, for all of you, for attending, to sincerely thank Izan for her presentation, and we look forward to inviting you to the next course on RTU scanning and the relevance to that to carcass measurements. And so with that, if there's no further comments, I bid you a good evening and look forward to seeing you again next time. Good night.